It is amazing how attitudes seem to change when it comes to the almighty dollar. It is amazing how pretend hatred and fake outrage magically seem to disappear when it comes to making money. I mean, why would Angel Reese want Caitlin Clark in this new league? If Caitlin Clark is there, the spotlight of Angel Reese, it becomes a shadow.
After Caitlin Clark strikes that terrible bargain with Unrivaled, Angel Reese loses her mind. Unrivaled may as well have written the book on ignorance as the new league enters the women's basketball scene. With the exception of the one celebrity who could actually make them famous, they started by signing every player in the world. Regretfully, Angel Reese is a celebrity that most people dislike. Yes, in the hopes that this combination might work, by some miracle, they lined up Reese, Aja Wilson, and a host of other players who were just about there. What were they smoking? At last, someone with the brains to see that Caitlin Clark is their only chance of even attempting to succeed. We may need Caitlin, I realize. Reese is left to watch the real superstar take home the prize as they threw bags of cash at her. Because Unrivaled has realized that without Clark, they are just a crazy, money-burning carnival. She is on the verge of losing it. In exchange for Caitlin Clark's services for 2 months, they are paying her $1 million. From January to March, a new basketball league will be run with $1 million. Without Caitlin Clark, this so-called league is just forgettable, despite its arrogance in thinking they can revolutionize women's basketball. A 3-on-3 league is in dire need of a spark to ignite its activity. However, there is little chance of igniting the sports world when your entire team is made up of who's that men. The top 30 pretend basketball players will be included in Unrivaled. The great majority of them will remain unidentified. One of their stars is now committed to play in the league. Regretfully, the majority of people dislike this star. Reese Angel. Let's talk about TNT's enormous commitment, $100 million deal that spans 6 years, and how they intend to use the funds to boost viewership. Do they even know what they're getting themselves into? Because those television ratings will be as low as the Antarctic temperature in the absence of a celebrity like Clark, who would pay attention to a lineup that resembles a phone book of unidentified people. TNT just wrote a check for a league that has no foundation because they thought Clark would be the magic bullet. Unrivaled is fully aware that Clark is a strong opponent. She's an automated ticket machine. Ticket lines would form around the block if her name was added to the roster. Every time she enters the court, the stadiums are filled like it's the playoffs. Because of the large numbers she draws, venues must add seats. But without her, does Unrivaled still have the same allure? Please. Their delay is offensive in addition to being inexplicable. Unrivaled behaved as though they could afford to keep Clark waiting 3 months, despite the fact that she is the most marketable athlete in women's basketball. In an attempt to gain traction without the game's biggest star, they distributed 26 more identities. It's similar to trying to release a movie without a star. They're in full panic mode now, though, trying to hide months of neglect with a Hail Mary cry that cries, "Please save us, Caitlin." Their desperate late-game tactics reveal how poorly they have managed the purported league since its start. The public relations team comes next. Unrivaled would undoubtedly take home the prize for the most self-destructive social media strategy in sports history. Rather than calling Clark in, they deliberately made derogatory comments about her. Similarly, during the season, they were enjoying criticism of Caitlin Clark from the official Unrivaled basketball Instagram account. Therefore, none of these things look good. Posts that criticize the very player they are currently promoting to join were actively defended by their official channels. They seem unable to make up their minds on whether or not to include her. Unmatched criticism of the celebrity you need, however, isn't precisely a strategy that works. They merely demonstrated that they are completely disconnected from what their supporters want. Now look to Ice Cube and his Big 3 League to understand how to properly court a star like Clark. Ice Cube saw her value right away. Just a big, clear offer, no hesitation, no games. He didn't waste time trying out subpar solutions, and he definitely didn't play pointless social media games. By giving Clark more money than he gives previous NBA players, he demonstrated to Unrivaled how it should be done and put his money where his mouth is. Unmatched, though, they're too preoccupied with stumbling over their own poor decisions to notice how far they've fallen. Unrivaled's mad dash seems unprofessional in comparison to the Major 3's straightforward strategy. In the present, Unrivaled is flinging cash around like parade confetti. And they are offering Clark a deal akin to Lionel Messi's a cool $1 million for just 2 months, along with the possibility of an ownership stake. Caitlin Clark is needed by Unrivaled League, and they are getting ready to make her an incredible offer. Is it too little, too late, though? It's less about acknowledging Clark's talent in this last-minute cash grab and more about hiding their huge error of judgment. They're throwing everything at her feet in the hopes that she would fall for it, as if they just woke up and realized they're doomed without her. But months ago, before all other plans had failed, they would have been at her door if they truly loved her. Money is not a need for Caitlin Clark. She has many endorsement contracts. She seems completely okay to me. And because I can only imagine what it was like to be in her position for the entire WNBA season, I believe it might not be the greatest thing for her physically and mentally. In addition to the roughness, double teams, face guards, and other things she was subjected to on the court, she was also surrounded by a lot of drama, noise, and media attention. However, even if there is a lot of money at stake, Clark has good reason to avoid him. A league without a solid foundation, a proven track record, or even a clear idea is unrivaled. If she signs with them, her profile will be lowered to their level. A shaky, untrustworthy business. She needs to protect her reputation, and it is not worth the danger to get involved in this train accident. Why link her name to a league that could collapse before the season is even over? If anything, the real debate here is whether Unrivaled deserves her at all, not if Clark should accept the offer. Should Caitlin Clark join Unrivaled, in my opinion? I'm not entirely sure. The money must be high, in my opinion. Millions must be involved. At the very least, it must be what Cube offered her for the Big Three. Let's now pause to appreciate Angel Reese's amusing response to Caitlin Clark's shiny, multi-million-dollar Unrivaled contract. Have a breakdown. Here's Reese, who used to act like Clark was just another person in the crowd, complaining about money all the time while receiving her $75,000 WNBA salary every season. Now, however, she literally exudes jealousy. Reese can't hide her enthusiasm after learning that Clark has won $1 million. It resembles the most blatant display of jealousy in basketball history. I didn't believe Caitlin Clark was necessary for WNBA players. Reese downplayed Clark's impact for months, perhaps thinking she would be fine without her. But Reese's story has completely changed now that Clark has that big Unrivaled check. What about the destroyed narrative that we don't need Clark? As she watches, Clark is being lured in with perks and a salary that would make any WNBA player gasp. Reese, who formerly rolled her eyes when Clark was brought up, is now forced to acknowledge that Clark has a whole new degree of market impact. Accordingly, Angel Reese participates in this league. This league has Dejanay Carrington as a player. Naturally, I believe that to be the most prominent name where tension exists. We don't sure if Caitlin and Dejanay are at odds, but that storyline still exists. Then there's the significant pay gap with men like Aja Wilson, who probably feels the hurt of falling behind. Wilson may formally endorse Unrivaled choice to sign Clark, but let's face it, watching Clark outperform her in endorsement deals cannot make her happy. Even though Wilson and Reese are well known in the WNBA, their salaries are still lower than Clark's. Reese can't match Clark's ability to close deals, even with her well-known antics and vocal media presence. You name it, Nike, State Farm, etc. Reese is watching from the sidelines as they toss money at Clark. There is more to these exchanges than just money. They serve as a potent reminder of Clark's influence, which Reese can only hope to surpass. It must be terrible to have Clark's visage used in advertising ads, especially when your own financial difficulties are constantly brought to light. The disparity is only highlighted by seeing Clark in the spotlight, and Reese's annoyance is clear from her public response. This is your chance to test your ability to live without her. This is your chance to determine whether Angel Reese is attractive enough to support a new league. The answer, I believe, is no. There will be major issues for the WNBA if Clark joins Unrivaled. Imagine elite athletes deciding it's time to go after seeing Clark's salary because they're tired of making pennies while she's getting millions. If Unrivaled starts to pay, the WNBA, which cannot afford a talent drain, would lose its best players. For Unrivaled, this is more than just a lift. It directly challenges the WNBA's already vulnerable financial status and is a warning sign that the league cannot survive. I applaud Ice Cube for what he offered Caitlin prior to the start of the Major 3 season, because you have to consider the kinds of egos that play in the major leagues. However, keep in mind that Clark plays 5-on-5. Instead of playing 3-on-3 pickup basketball, she is an adept at regular basketball. You wonder if Unrivaled little experiment will even work when you throw her into it. Critics have already expressed doubts about 3-on-3's ability to sustain interest, suggesting that Unrivaled is relying on Clark to carry the league. She is their greatest hope because without her, they would quickly become irrelevant. Her earning potential comes next. In addition to her $28 million Nike sponsorship, Caitlin has collaborations with companies including State Farm. Companies compete for her as an athlete. In women's sports, her marketability is practically unheard of. This is the possible issue. Caitlin Clark is wealthy already. She agreed to pay Nike $28 million. State Farm and a few other corporations have signed her to endorsement arrangements. The money isn't strictly necessary for Caitlin Clark. Unrivaled is keen to take advantage of that. They hope to become more well-known and have the chance to play in the major leagues. Here's the unpleasant truth, though. Without her, they're just another idealistic, illusory concept in the crowded sports world. As though Clark's fame could improve their dreadful assortment, they hope that her golden touch will attract attention. Consider it. All of Unrivaled money and hope has gone into trying to get Caitlin to join them. They don't have a plan B, backup, or alternative. They're doomed if Clark doesn't fall for the ruse. Even if they tried, Unrivaled would be unable to match her star power, fan base, and commercial worth. It's embarrassing how much they rely on her. What are your thoughts? Is she going to join the league? Are they going to give her enough to let her in? And would that instantly put the league at the forefront? Please share your opinions in the comments section below.